Throughout American history, African American artists have played a pivotal role in shaping the nation's cultural landscape. From music to visual arts, literature to theater, African American creatives have consistently been at the forefront of expressing social, political, and cultural narratives. However, their involvement in major political moments, especially those aligned with specific administrations, can often be fraught with complexity. The participation of African American artists in political events, particularly those that may not align with their community's values or struggles, presents an ongoing conversation about identity, resistance, and political affiliation. African American artists have long been integral to the political and social movements in the United States. The civil rights movement, for instance, was not only propelled by the work of activists, but also by influential figures in the arts. Music legends like Nina Simone, James Brown, and Sam Cooke, as well as writers like Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston, used their craft to challenge the status quo and speak truth to power. Their work was a form of resistance to racial oppression and a celebration of African American identity. As African Americans have gained political power and visibility in various spheres, their participation in mainstream political events has been seen both as a means of asserting their influence and as a platform to critique social injustices. However, the intersection of art and politics is not always as clear-cut as it seems. Artists must navigate the fine line between artistic expression and political endorsement, especially when they are called upon to perform at events that may represent ideologies or individuals that are in direct opposition to their values. The controversy surrounding specific African American performers at this year's presidential inauguration is not new. The decision of Calvin Broadus Jr., aka Snoop Dogg, Cornell Haynes Jr., aka Nelly, and to a lesser extent the Mississippi Valley State Marching Band to perform at such events often generates both support and criticism, especially if people believe the administration or political figure involved is perceived as unfavorable to African American communities. One of the key dilemmas artists face in these situations is the question of whether performing at a political event is an endorsement of the political agenda behind it. For some, the act of performing can be seen as lending credibility to an administration or leader whose policies may be harmful to African American communities, particularly in areas such as civil rights, economic inequality, and racial justice. One of the most well-known instances of this dilemma arose during the inauguration of Donald Trump in January 2017. In the lead-up to the event, many African American artists were publicly criticized for agreeing to perform at the inauguration. The most notable performances were by artists like Jackie Evancho, a singer who performed the national anthem, and the African American gospel group the Kingdom Choir, who sang at the event's inauguration service. While their participation was met with some praise for demonstrating unity and representing diversity, many African Americans felt that their involvement in Trump's inauguration was problematic, particularly given Trump's campaign rhetoric, which many viewed as divisive and hostile toward minority communities. The fact that some performers, including well-known African American figures, chose to participate in this past ceremony that celebrated the rise of an administration with a history of policies that could undermine civil rights, voting rights, and immigration reform was seen as a form of complicity. Many people saw and now see again the participation of these African American artists in such an event as a contradiction. For artists who had historically used their platforms to speak out against racial injustice, aligning with a president who had been openly criticized for his racist comments and policies felt like a betrayal. This tension reveals the complicated relationship African American artists have with mainstream politics. They are often called upon to represent their communities, but they also must navigate the realities of working within a system that can sometimes be at odds with the values of the very communities they represent. On the other hand, some defended the decision of African American artists to perform at Trump's inauguration as a symbolic gesture of unity and the importance of representation. They argued that participating in such events is a means of asserting a presence within the political landscape, regardless of the ideological affiliations of the leaders in power. For some artists, performing at the inauguration was an opportunity to be a visible, undeniable part of the American fabric, even in the face of political differences. In this view, African American artists are not necessarily endorsing the political agenda of the administration, but are instead taking a stance on the need for inclusion in public discourse. The performance can be seen as an expression of resilience, an artist's ability to be present, to be seen, and to maintain their agency in spaces where they are often marginalized. Regardless of the political context, the role of art in society remains one of both expression and subversion. African American artists, in particular, have a long tradition of using their work to reflect the struggles, joys, and complexities of their communities. From the Harlem Renaissance to the Black arts movement and beyond, African American art has often been a tool for both resistance and celebration. It's this dual purpose, simultaneously resisting oppression while celebrating culture, that gives African American artists a unique voice in political discourse. For some artists, participating in politically charged events can be seen as an extension of this resistance, forcing their art into spaces that are not typically open to diverse or marginalized voices. Yet for others, it can feel like a betrayal, as their performance may inadvertently legitimize a political figure or ideology that goes against the interests of their community. This complexity highlights how deeply intertwined art and politics can be, and how artists, especially African American artists, must navigate these dual roles carefully. The question of whether African American artists should perform at certain political events is part of a broader conversation about the intersection of art and politics. It underscores the role of artists as both activists and entertainers, as individuals who influence public opinion while also being subject to it. Ultimately, the decision to perform or not to perform is a deeply personal one, shaped by an artist's values, beliefs, and understanding of their role in society. African American artists will continue to wrestle with these questions as they navigate the complex political landscape of America. Whether using their art as a platform for resistance, celebration, or political alignment, their work will undoubtedly continue to provoke thought, challenge norms, and serve as a reflection of the ongoing struggle for equality and justice. For this 2025 situation involving Nelly, Snoop, and the Mississippi Valley State University Marching Band, they had to do what they believed was in their personal best interests. History will judge them accordingly, and we must allow for time to be the ultimate judge. Until then, let's focus on issues and the new era of corporate help and responsibility. Perhaps today, think about it.